once you actually know that you're in control of the inputs, it puts you into the driver's seat to where you could actually move this car along instead of constantly sitting in the passenger seat thinking the car's on autopilot, but it's actually just driving into the ditch. And I feel like that's what I've been kind of doing most of my life until really recently. Even when I started to see some growth on Instagram, I still was kind of playing that passenger role where I was like, okay, well, as long as I post one video a day, that's chill, right? Like, that's one of my inputs. No, because I was trying to do a lot of other things, building products, building a mentorship, all these other things I was trying to do. But I thought just because I was making that one input per day, that I was moving myself closer to my goals. And I swear that was like furthest from the truth because I didn't see much growth at the beginning. Believe it or not, you can control every input you make in your life. I didn't think so for a long time, but whether it's tracking a workout, it's waking up at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time, picking up this camera to make this video, those are all inputs. You can control every single one of them. The outcomes are the things that we can't hold ourselves too close to. The outputs will come the way we want them to as long as we put the proper inputs in. Speaking of inputs, I've had this in my mind for a couple weeks now. I've been on a vacation for 2 weeks in Europe, and I didn't want to pick up the camera. If we align way too close to the outcomes and we try to wait for the results, we're going to be pissed off almost every single time because we're not going to do the proper inputs because we're just waiting for the results to happen. Track your inputs, control your inputs, and the outputs will come. The outcomes will come in favor. Every positive decision you make for yourself is just casting a vote for the person you're going to become in the future. So if you cast a bunch of negative votes per day, maybe you gamble, you watch porn, you don't go to the gym, you're casting a bunch of negative votes for the negative person you're going to become. If you gossip, talk shit all the time, you're casting that vote. But if you actually hold yourself to your goals, you wake up at the time you want to, you go to the bed at the time you want to, you'll start to put those yeses in there, and in turn, you're going to trust yourself a lot more. You're going to grow this bond with yourself that's going to be seen from miles away. People will sense it. Back when I was in college, I really hesitated on taking on too many classes because back in high school, I was a really poor student. I didn't really study for tests. I didn't do my homework very often, and when I did, I was just copying people. I didn't have much trust in myself. I didn't think I was able to actually retain the information because I was put in these like reading comprehension classes, believe it or not. I was sitting there unable to focus because maybe I had the TV on late at night, or like I exacerbated my ADHD with gaming or whatever it was as a kid. What I'm now realizing is that the hyperfixation I was feeling then was because I just wasn't interested in the topics. And when I got to college, once I started taking on classes that I was actually interested in and fired up about, I was actually realizing I love to learn. I was listening to like TEDx podcasts and all these different things that I normally never would have indulged in. But since I was in college and I trusted myself to actually get the homework done, to study the teacher's notes and all these different things, I was completely sold on the fact that I can make these classes work. And majority of college, I was just passing classes. But in high school, I really, really struggled. I had like a 1.6 GPA at the worst, I think, in high school, pretty much throughout high school. 1.6 to 1.9 GPA entire way through high school. I didn't even know what a GPA was until I was a junior in high school. No joke. I took the SAT one time and one time only when they made you, and I didn't even apply to any colleges but the community college in my local area. I was not sold on myself. I did not think I could pick up any coursework and sit there, and I didn't even think I could get into a university. That's how far away my mind was. I was like, nobody will accept me. But in reality, all they want is your money anyway. So like, I don't know what I was even thinking at the time, but I was literally so down on myself because of the academic system here that I didn't even trust that I could learn. So let's bring it right back around. Getting the inputs in will ultimately provide the outcomes that you want. But if you're too stuck on the outcomes, you'll never get the outcomes that you want. That's why actually trusting yourself and learning to love the process and the journey is what's going to get you to the finish line. And that's what's going to get you the life that you want to live, the studio you want to be in, whatever it is. Like, you're going to accomplish your goals much faster by focusing on one foot in front of the other than trying to figure out what's going to happen between now and 5 years, period. Like, once I started tracking the goals for 3 months in advance, quarterly goals, tracking the metrics of things. And once I started putting in these success metrics like follower count or the number in your bank account, how many workouts I'm gonna do this week, is when you start to actually follow through. I used to be so apprehensive about tracking my workouts because I felt like if I tracked too many things, too many attributes, I'd get overwhelmed and get burned out. And what I've grown to find out is that was just me telling myself that I didn't trust myself to get it done. And the moment you start having real belief, real truth, and real conviction in what you can do, your opportunities become limitless, and you actually have the proof of concept that you can do the things that you're gonna tell yourself that you're gonna do. I just got back from vacation, Portugal and Spain, for 2 weeks. As I was setting my intentions there in Europe, I noticed that the biggest outlier for what I had to fix was my sleep schedule. It was what time I was going to bed, what time I was waking up. I was spending far too much time on Discord and hanging out with friends, playing games. I really wasn't even playing games. I was actually just like staying up, working, posting videos, working on different projects. But what I noticed is like, I love the fact that it was quiet at night. Maybe I could be on Discord, I could go mute if I wanted to. But what that was ultimately doing is giving me this like false dopamine that I was actually progressing. And maybe I was, but I feel like I was doing it at like 0.5 speed, like a turtle speed. It felt like I was going in slow motion. So when I got back, I set the intention on getting up at 5 a.m., actually holding myself to a standard of living that started earlier than I've ever done before. Started when most of the men in my life that I've actually looked up to started their days. The world is quiet, just like it is at 2 or 3 a.m. It's the same way when you wake up at 5 because nobody's up. I've been structuring my calendar in a way that looks and feels just so much better for my life. And every time I actually accomplish one of these days in full, because not every day I can wake up at 5 a.m. And as much as I'd like to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, I know there's going to be days where sometimes it just doesn't work. So what I've kind of set my intentions on is, well, at least having my phone in the kitchen. I don't have my phone ever in my bedroom. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m., I wake up for it, decide whether or not my eyes are bloodshot or if I've only had like 2 hours of sleep, which I shouldn't have because I go to bed early now. If those things check out and I'm good, I stay up, and that's fine. And now my schedule is starting to look like this. It went from literally looking like this with calls and like being very unstructured, being like, okay, well, I can wake up at 11 right before my first call, I guess, to being like this starting this week and having an actual schedule to where I can look through and be like, okay, I got my client calls Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Wednesday and Friday are for me to make videos and get to the studio and do stuff. I didn't realize I could do that for myself and plan out my day properly to where I have deep work sessions. I have morning rituals. I know when I'm going to get my coffee. I know when I'm going to the gym to train. Today was a quad day. Yesterday, on Sunday, I kind of keep it off. But yeah, as you can see, like it's every single week, same like clockwork. So basically what I'm trying to get at is the inputs from me doing this, I know will bring me to the outcome that I want to. And if this video can provide you any sort of clarity, because I'm not sure if this is even resonating because this is my first video back, but track your inputs. Don't be afraid to track too many variables because you can't overtrack. You're going to just keep pumping new information in. And as long as you're doing the things you're saying you're going to do and breaking the barrier in your mind that creates this callus of like, yeah, I don't know. I like the gym past noon isn't for me. It's a little too busy, whatever. Like whatever it is, like in your head, that's like a mental barrier or block. You got to get over that. And that's what actually getting the things that you say you're going to do done. Because once you grow this confidence with yourself, on the other side is like amazing. It's truly unbelievable what I was missing out on when I didn't have confidence or I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I just was like, kind of like, in my mind, I was kind of walking with my head down, like, I mean, obviously I've always been confident, have my shoulders back, whatever. But in my mind, I was literally walking like this, which is crazy. And it wasn't until recently that I noticed that I was actually doing that in my mind. I always felt lesser. I always felt like I wasn't capable of doing things I say I was going to do. Get the confidence, track your inputs, and just get it done. Someone that didn't trust themselves or didn't actually believe in themselves probably wouldn't have watched to the end of this video anyways, so props to you if you have. To work with me, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I help people find their voice online, help them present themselves and get confidence to actually post what they're passionate about online. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.